just keep going. Everything takes time, but don't stop working for it, ladies. Don't stop working for it. You got this.
You're listening to Femcanic Garage, the podcast that features women in the automotive and motorsports industries. A community that elevates, empowers, and evolves by smashing stereotypes and breaking down barriers for women. I'm your host, Jamie Blosman. Buckle up for the ride, Femcanics. Charlene Bower is in the driver's seat today. Charlene is the owner of Ladies Offroad Network, Ladies RV Network, Bower Motorsports Media, president of Ladies Offroad Foundation. She's a dirt bike rider, hardcore wheeler, and the first female member of the Arizona Undertakers 4x4 Club. In 2014 and 15, she earned the title of the fastest girl up backdoor at the King of the Hammers Backdoor Shootout. Charlene was also recognized by BF Goodrich Tires as one of their performance team members and was voted by peers as an off-road motorsports Hall of Fame industry rising star in 2016. Now let's sit back and enjoy the ride. Hello, Femcanics. This is Jamie B coming to you, and I have Charlene Bowers in the hot seat or driver's seat today. Thank you for joining me on the Femcanic Garage podcast. We have crossed paths multiple times at SEMA and different events, so I am really excited to get you on the show and share your journey. But I'm going to take a slightly different approach with you, Charlene, simply because your journey is pretty well documented. And I find myself doing this often with well-documented journeys where I don't want to regurgitate more of the same. What I want to get to is some of the behind the scenes, and especially once you're at a certain level of your career, there's a look back period, right? Where especially the business women, right? You know, yes, you turn wrenches. Yes, but you're a businesswoman. And that's the part that fascinates me. So listeners, what you're starting to see is people like Bogey, people like Charlene, people like Lori, that I'll provide the links where it goes into great detail of your journey, Charlene, and that'll be in the description where they can dig in, and we'll touch on that some. But I really want to pick your business mind to open that up to the women in our industry, because that's kind of the next level, right? So I'm excited to dive into that. But before we do that, I do want to give a little precursor. Even though I did the pre-recorded bio with all my episodes and they get a sense of what you're about and your background, I do want to spend just a little bit of time in the high level, in the highlights of your journey. Did you always know you were going to be in this industry?
Yes-ish. Yes-ish. But I can't be more excited to talk about business. Like, you want to talk about a topic, that is my topic. So, yes, I think so. My very first job was working in a motorcycle shop, changing tires, dirt bike tires. And I don't know, I tried to leave-ish. Like, when I got my fancy degree from college and I was going to get a real job, and I put on high heels and a mini skirt, and I went to work for an auto parts inventory control system. So I was still in the automotive industry. I lasted there for 6 months. And then peeled out and went back to the motorcycle industry. I'm like, yeah, that's not me. And have just been somehow winding my way through. And my story is interesting, and there's a lot of it that's not online because, like today, I'll share some behind the scenes stories with you. I'll be vulnerable to some degree. We're all scared to tell some of these stories, but I'm more and more open, especially with smaller groups of people, to say, listen, this is what happened in order to make it happen. And part of my story is 6 years ago, when I started Ladies Offroad Network, what I was really doing was shutting down Bower Motorsports Media And I was leaving the industry. Like, that is part of that story. I said, I'm out. Peace out. I've been here for 20 plus years. I'm over it. I'm done with it. I can't do it. I'm going to go get a corporate job. My goal was to go work at Cold Stone. Like, if I can sell tires, I can sell ice cream, right? And so I tried, and there's a big story, and if you want to lead me into it, I'd be happy to tell you about it later. But I never left, and even with a change that is happening right now that I promised you that I would give you the first reveal on, um, I'm not leaving the industry right now either. So super exciting. I'm pretty much a lifer, and I'm not going anywhere. I can't go anywhere. I don't see myself anywhere. So y'all are stuck with me, is what I tell everybody.
Well, we'll gladly be stuck with you anytime. Um, this I want to talk a little bit about that. 6 years ago, where you're closing down. What kind? Tell me a little bit about that. Like, what was that defining moment where you're like, I'm done?
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to this too. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter anything. It's a part of life, right? And so we all ebb and flow in our life. And at this point, in that point in time, so we just celebrated 13 years of BowerMedia. So that point in time, I was at the 7 year, right? That 7 year itch is what they call it in relationships and everything. Well, it happens in your business too. And I'm like, I am so over it. I am so done. I can't do it anymore. I want a new job. And well, it's easy if you don't work for yourself. You just put in your resignation, right? Well, I couldn't just put in a resignation when you own the business. So I had to sit there and self reflect. And the one thing I pride myself in is I can do that. I hold myself accountable to the hard conversations. I hold myself accountable and say, really, Charlene, is that really the truth? Are you being super honest with yourself right now? Or are you just telling yourself something fluffy in order for you to make yourself feel good so you can continue on in the day? And so that's a hard one. That's a hard one to do with yourself, right? And so during that time when I was like, oh, I hate my job, I'm so frustrated with it, over it, all these things, I'm like, why? 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 Self reflect, understand your why. And I started to realize, I'm like, I work in the raddest industry ever, but I'm not taking any time for myself.
I started Femcanic Garage legitimately, Charlene, to learn from other women. That's where
100%.
it all started from.
Yep.
And when I ask my questions, and it's interesting because some women are maybe a little scared to come on my podcast because, in using your words, it's getting to the dirt. And I don't really view it that way. And not that you intended it anyway. That's not what I'm getting at. But it's genuinely, I believe every woman's journey has so many powerful knowledge nuggets. And
Oh, a
when
thousand
I ask
percent.
my questions, it's about me wanting to learn more. And what I have found is that it's oftentimes the same questions my listeners have. And
Hit it.
sometimes,
I'm not
Charlene,
scared of any of
my 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 que- my my questions come from I want to feel normal because one of the things
them.
about being an entrepreneur is that it can be a very lonely experience, right? If you don't have a big team yet, it can feel very lonely, but when you look at it online, what people see is that I'm interviewing women and that I'm at events, but those are blips, right? They're blips and they're awesome blips, but they're still blips, right? And you know, why did you want to shut it down? Like you say the 7 year itch, and quite honestly, I think the biggest challenge in any business, one is figuring when you're starting something from scratch, is figuring out, okay, how am I generating revenue? What products am I going to sell? What should I price them at? Right? You had you'd figured those things. You figured that out, and you got to a point where you said, "I'm done." Like, why? Looking from the outside looking in, it's like, damn.
So a lot of it had, and you can respect this, a lot of it had to do, it was a media company, Motorsports Media. So I worked with companies, racers, and events in the off-road industry and the media side. And when I very first started the business, Facebook was brand new. I was one of the first people that really took that on, and videos were brand new. And so I also took that on. And that was very new, very raw when I first started. I'm self-taught on everything, or just like a random online class here or there. So um, the the awful part is, as the industry changed and as the media side changed, um, I couldn't keep up with the money. And so I saw myself as not doing a good enough job because I didn't have a red camera, because I didn't have all these things, because I didn't have a team, because I saw these people coming out with 4 or 5 shooters. And here I am, just one person. And yeah, I had a camera. Now I do everything on my cell phone. But back then, right, we had to have a camera. Now you can get away with using your cell phone and you can just do as great of a job as you did before. But that was totally unacceptable at the time. And I got into my own head and said, "You're not good enough. You're not good enough to be that person. You can't compete with all these people that are coming in now that have had some legitimate training, right? And all the rest of it." It is funny to this day. Not anybody can reproduce what I am doing. And I have tried multiple times to pull somebody under my wing and teach them how to do it, because our off road industry is missing that category. Nobody's really producing in that way. But it's also kind of funny because nobody can, it's so much work and you're not getting paid a bunch of money in order to do it. Um, so that was part of my decision making process. I'm like, I'm tired of the fight. I'm tired of the daily fight. I'm tired of all of that, the daily fight on the consistency with making sure that the media was coming out correctly, making sure that I stayed up with technology advancements. Like, holy cow, that in itself, even today, I look at some of the stuff because I've stepped away, not completely, but I have stepped away dramatically from the media side with what I'm doing now. And I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so intimidating to come back and make some videos. And then I make videos, I'm like, dang girl, you haven't lost it, like it's not, you were just fine. And I was on such the hard burnout mode, and I was so exhausted and so tired and so burnt out that I probably didn't cut a video for 3 or 4 years after. I taught somebody else how to do it because I just couldn't do it. And then I finally
How did
had to
you
do one
manage
myself.
that?
Oh, it was
How,
miserable.
I have
It
to
was
ask this.
miserable. I procrastinated for probably a week. I procrastinated for like a week. And then I finally did it. And I'm like, well, Charlene, you know how you work best and you know how it worked. And you got to do it in the middle of the night. And you got to do this. Like, you know how you roll. And so I finally set myself up for it. And I set myself up for success. And I smashed it out. And at the end, I sat back in my chair and literally I started laughing, because that's what I do when something is happening. I just laugh. And I was laughing at myself. I'm like, you are so ridiculous that you just procrastinated this for so long when you knew you could nail it, you knew you were good at it, you knew all of these things, and you're just completely ridiculous right now. Like, what is your problem? But again,
So
that's
let me
calling
let me
yourself
ask
out.
this. Let me
And
ask
that's
this real
making
quick.
sure that you have the power to do it.
Let me ask a couple questions real quick. One question is, when you had what I refer to as your monkey mind going, right? Like, I can't keep up with these teams of people they're bringing in. I'm one person. And that's my first question. How did you bring yourself out of it?
I didn't. I changed my business. I found something else I like to do better. I was cool. I moved on.
But
I recreated myself.
but that was that was a way of dealing with it. I think that's a valuable lesson in understanding
Yeah, I
when it's
recreated
time to
myself.
close a chapter to open up other things.
And you know what? It is absolutely okay to close a chapter. It is absolutely okay to close a relationship. It's absolutely okay to close a business relationship. It's absolutely okay to understand when it's time to not have a customer anymore. It is absolutely okay to understand these things. And but how you recreate yourself and how you decide to poise yourself next is what's most important. And never burn that bridge. Never walk away politely, walk away with respect, walk away with your shoulders back, not with your mouth running. And that's some words of advice I give women all the time. And it's rough and it's aggressive, but it is all you're doing with that mouth
And
is getting yourself in trouble.
and that's
And you just
and
gotta
that's
stop.
not muting. Yeah, and that's not about muting
No.
women. It's not about that. The message
Mm-mm.
you're giving right now is very different than girls should be quiet and sit quietly. That's not what you're saying. And I want to
Not at
make
all.
sure that it
Yep. Thank
lands.
you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's about business acumen at that point, and it's about
It
business
is about
maturity
being
at that
respectful.
point. What is your parting advice to other femcanics finding their way in this industry?
Don't stop. Do what you want to do. At some point in time, somebody's going to tell you that you're not good enough. Somebody's going to make you feel like the worst thing ever. Let me tell you about it. And girls are the roughest. Girls are going to get after you more than anybody else is going to get after you, which is super unfortunate in our world. But don't let it get you down. If you want something, you know what's in your heart, you know what's in your mind. If you want that, then you own that. Then you push after that. Then you continue to go for that. And do not stop. Don't let somebody else's dream or them and being intimidated by you get in that way of you doing what you want to do and how you want to be successful. Um, that's my biggest thing. And then have ultimate self-reflection. Call yourself out. Make it gnarly. Make yourself angry at yourself. Like make yourself cry on certain days and say, you know what, that was the wrong thing to do. Probably shouldn't have ran it that way. Um, Understand what you're good at, understand what you're not good at, and focus on the stuff that you're good at. Learn how to do the things that you're not good at better. And don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. Keep going. Please keep going. Hi, I'm Charlene Bower. I have worked in the off road industry for 27 years. I am the current owner of Ladies Offroad Network, and Bauer Motorsports Media is the parent company. I am very excited to provide education for women all over the country in the off-road experience, and for multiple other people. And I am proud to be a Femcanic.
Hey, Femcanics, this is Jamie B. Thanks for listening to the preview. If you would like to listen to the complete interview, we provided 2 convenient links below that will link directly to this episode. These links take you to Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can always go to your favorite podcast listening platform and search for Femcanic Garage. While you're there, if you don't mind, hit that subscribe button and give us a rating. It helps the podcast reach more women. And just know, we appreciate you and your support. This is Jamie B signing off. Are you a Femcanic?